In this podcast episode, host Andre engages with Jim George, an ex-animator turned stillness coach, to explore the profound costs of living in constant mental noise and the transformative power of stillness. They delve into the neurological origins of internal chatter, the evolutionary imperatives shaping human behavior, and how quieting the mind can lead to deeper self-understanding, spiritual insight, and authentic living. Throughout the conversation, they examine practical spirituality, the nature of desire, values-based living, and the dynamic interplay between individual identity and universal wholeness. The dialogue also touches on the implications of modern culture and social media, the phenomenon of status, and the potential for cooperation to redefine human evolution. Jim begins by addressing the core detriment of habitual mental chatter, the absence from the present moment. He describes how a life consumed by incessant internal narration causes one to miss the essence of existence, resulting in a profound vacuum felt at life's end. This absence stems from the brain's limbic system, which tirelessly strives to protect survival through prediction and vigilance. Yet, much of this mental noise is no longer reactive to external realities, but is generated internally, making it a kind of self-imposed distraction that clouds direct perception. The cost of this normalized internal noise extends beyond mental frustration to impact physical, emotional, and spiritual well-being. Jim stresses that while experiencing distraction is natural and part of the human condition, cultivating stillness is essential to recovering authentic life experience. The conversation moves into the neurological basis of the noise inside the mind. Jim explains that the brain, especially the limbic system, is evolutionarily designed to react rapidly to perceived threats or opportunities for survival. This system operates in milliseconds, far faster than the conscious mind, which processes information more slowly. Internal chatter functions as a form of ongoing surveillance, valence, and interpretation, salience, of sensations and memories, which can be confused with actual perception. Because this chatter is tied to primal survival, it is relentless and easily normalized, robbing individuals of direct experience by filling consciousness with narratives, judgments, and fears that are no longer relevant to the present moment. Jim introduces stillness not as a technique, but as a volitional practice of surrendering mental tension and ceasing internal dialogue. By repeatedly quieting the mind, one begins to interrupt habitual reactive patterns before they spiral into anxiety or distraction. This process does not involve forcing silence, but allowing the cessation of tension to naturally occur, leading to clearer perception. The paradox he highlights is that the more one practices this stillness, the more spontaneous insights and truer awareness arise, often revealing a shocked or humbling truth about what truly matters beneath superficial desires and socially conditioned narratives. Turning to human evolution, Jim reflects on the origins of status as a survival strategy for early humans escaping extinction by cooperating rather than competing alone. Status became crucial because belonging to a group determined life or death. Exclusion was essentially a death sentence. Modern social status, he notes, is a continuation of this ancient survival imperative, but is often disconnected from authentic human needs and distorted by abstract and symbolic markers such as those promoted through social media. This pursuit often leads to competition, separation, and manipulation, undermining genuine connection. Jim advocates that evolution is ongoing and proposes an epigenetic shift where cooperation replaces competition, allowing humanity to thrive by transcending limited survival modes. Jim discusses the human tendency to fixate on a constructed symbolic self, the egoic narrative of I, me, mine, which isolates individuals and projects separateness onto reality. He describes stillness as a state of pure awareness free from past and future, where the sense of a bounded self dissolves into a non-dual experience. This expanded scope of context reveals that the self is not confined to a physical body or an isolated identity, but is interconnected with everything. However, he clarifies that the goal is not to remain permanently in this state, but to develop the ability to oscillate between everyday functional identification and these expansive states, gaining freedom and perspective in both. The dialogue explores spirituality pragmatically, moving beyond abstract metaphysics to a direct experiential perception accessible through stillness. Jim frames spirituality as recognition of a greater wholeness and interconnectedness that transcends dualistic thinking. He relates this to quantum physics revelations about the non-solid, field-based nature of reality, pointing out that much of what humans take as concrete is an abstraction limited by neurological processing. This understanding disrupts rigid worldviews and fosters awe and wonder. Spirituality, in this view, is not dogmatic belief, but a lived, embodied awareness enhanced by stillness. One key theme is the biological and psychological drive toward desire and its role in human suffering. Drawing on neurochemical insights, Jim differentiates between dopamine-driven seeking, the pursuit of pleasure and goals, and serotonin-associated contentment, appreciation, and gratitude. He explains that much of human dissatisfaction arises from the endless chase to obtain what one thinks will bring happiness, only to find the pleasure fleeting and replaced by new desires. The practice of stillness allows individuals to access the underlying state they are truly seeking, a cessation of seeking itself or a lack of desire. This end to the endless chase brings relief and deeper fulfillment, which is both surprising and liberating. Jim highlights the importance of conscious awareness of one's values as a foundation for authentic behavior. He explains that values operate largely at an unconscious level, guiding decisions and actions, often without conscious recognition. When these are revealed through stillness and reflection, people sometimes experience shock or disappointment because their actions may contradict their ideals or self-image. Removing judgment of right and wrong from values clarification, Jim encourages honest examination, understanding the relative hierarchy of values and recognizing how this insight enables prediction of behavior and intentional change. Ultimately, alignment with authentic values leads not only to personal freedom, but also to more meaningful connections and contribution. Building on the exploration of self, Jim addresses the courageous challenge of embracing individuality while recognizing one's universality. Each person's unique corner to contribute to the world requires deep self-awareness and patience. He relates stories of individuals rediscovering their true callings by moving away from external expectations and toward what truly lights them up internally. As the scope of one's awareness expands through stillness, a natural impulse towards service and ethical behavior arises intrinsically rather than through imposed morality. This alignment fosters compassion, connection, and a sense of purpose rooted in contribution rather than competition. Throughout the conversation, Jim emphasizes the accessibility of stillness as a daily practice that need not be confined to retreats or formal meditation sessions. He shares how stillness can be integrated into everyday activities such as walking, highlighting the potent transformation that occurs when one relinquishes tension and narrative repeatedly throughout the day. This ongoing practice strengthens one's capacity to navigate life's oscillations between engagement and spacious awareness, leading to greater presence, resilience, and joy, even in seemingly chaotic environments. Jim and Andre discuss the limitations of language and conceptual thought in capturing the fluid, non-dual nature of reality as revealed through stillness. They affirm that much of what humans perceive as reality is filtered and symbolized through conceptual frameworks that can obscure direct experience. Such abstractions create separateness and identification with thought, which fuels suffering. By quieting the mind and suspending narrative, individuals can access a more immediate perception that transcends linguistic construction and duality, enabling profound insights and a lived experience of interconnectedness. Jim stresses the dynamic nature of human experience as an oscillation between stillness and active participation in life, between expanded awareness and embodied identity. He warns against becoming trapped exclusively in states of pure stillness or bliss, which can lead to escapism or nirvana addiction. Instead, a balanced life appreciates the value of moving fluidly between presence and absorption, using stillness as a resource to return to groundedness and clarity before re-engaging with the world. This oscillation expands choice and freedom, enriching life's texture and allowing genuine responsiveness to circumstance. The podcast touches on the ways modern culture exacerbates internal noise and disconnection. Jim notes that social media intensifies anxieties about status and belonging, within an abstracted, intangible realm that can feel both omnipresent and fragile. This virtual environment triggers the same ancient survival fears, but in distorted ways that often lead to self-harm or isolation. The normalization of mediated interactions further distances people from authentic connection and embodied awareness. He advocates for cultivating stillness as a counterweight and for reclaiming sovereignty over one's attention and self-perception amidst these pressures. Finally, Jim offers encouragement and insight for those on the path of self-discovery. He acknowledges the inherent difficulty and vulnerability involved in questioning deeply held beliefs and values, but frames this process as not only necessary, but ultimately life-affirming. The interplay of uncertainty and openness, surrender and action, is portrayed as the essence of spiritual growth and maturation. He reminds listeners that this journey is ongoing, without a final arrival, and that embracing not knowing with curiosity keeps the process alive and fruitful. In their expansive dialogue, Jim and Andre explore the intersection between the physical body and more subtle, energetic, or metaphysical dimensions of self. Jim references studies from physics that reveal the universe as largely empty space filled with fields of potential and energy, challenging conventional materialist views. This scientific understanding parallels experiential insights gained through stillness, where the boundaries of self become fluid and one perceives the interconnected field of existence behind appearances. Such realizations support a holistic worldview integrating body, mind, and spirit as aspects of one dynamic whole. Throughout the interview, connections are drawn between Jim's insights and wisdom traditions worldwide, including references to the Buddha's teachings on suffering, the Bhagavad Gita's notion of dharma, and concepts like beginner's mind and childlike openness. The universal nature of these themes illustrates that practical spirituality transcends cultural and religious boundaries. By accessing stillness and expanded awareness, individuals tap into an intrinsic human capacity for insight, compassion, and presence that resonates deeply across time and place. This common ground fosters humility and reverence for diverse paths converging in the shared quest for wholeness.